And I want to welcome everybody into the Fifth Dimension podcast, where we're attempting to live more mindfully in the day to day. Quite simply, make this world a little bit of a better place. I'm your host, Evan McDermott, and I want to thank you for tuning into this episode. And I got a good topic at hand. Something that a lot of people are, I'd say, afraid of, but something I think we're taught to be afraid of, and that is change. Now, what is change? Change is not merely a question, but it is really our only answer, right? What does it even mean to change? It means to constantly be learning, constantly growing, constantly exploring, constantly taking in new perspectives, new ideas. You know, shouldn't we be constantly trying to become new, trying to gain these new perspectives, analyzing our actions of the past, not too in depth where you're getting anxiety about it, but analyzing, self-reflecting, and trying to sort of transcend ourselves into a better mold, a better version of who we are. So I sure hope personally I've changed since the last time you've even heard my voice. If I haven't, then am I not failing myself in a way by not trying to become better, by not trying to become a more complete, more knowledgeable person to help the greater humanity? So, change is an inevitable process. Change is something that I think we really almost are too hard on ourselves about, but also worry about too much, where we should really just be allowing it to flow and embracing it as it comes. And certainly there are going to be situations where change might be hard. Maybe you're going to end a relationship. Maybe you're going to be changing jobs, or you're going to be moving to a new location. Those are sort of, I think, the larger scale changes that we really worry about. And, they certainly require a lot more effort on our part. But, change is something that we should be engaging with every single day. Every time you hear a new perspective, you're changing, you're becoming better. Every time, you sit down to meditate, you're changing yourself. You're attempting to be the best version of who you want to be. So, think of how Earth is constantly changing, right? Is Earth the same as when you went to bed last night? No. Not by any means. There's a lot that happened. Maybe it wasn't directly around you, but there was a lot that happened. Even since when you started this podcast, there are 7.5 billion people on this earth. I mean, 7.5 billion people are doing something or sleeping. You get the idea. So, new developments, new situations, people are being born, people are dying. The cycle of life fully immersing and never stopping and never itself coming to a halt, just even for a moment's notice. So things are constantly changing. Life is just change. Are you not changed just by even starting this podcast? You've already changed. You've already engaged in a new level, a different perspective. You've already heard something. So if we're not willing to change, and that goes for smaller scale changes, but also these larger scale changes, what happens to us? It sort of puts us into what I would say is a period of stagnation within ourselves. For me, that manifests through anxieties and fears, and I have really embraced this concept of change because I realize it is the only way forward. It is the only way to keep going. And I actually wrote a quick poem about change. Yeah, I'm going to do some poetry right now. How about that? I didn't know if I was going to, but it's sitting here right in front of me, and I'm like, well, since it's here, I might as well read it, right? So, it's short, I promise. Held by earth, supported by love, it is safe for me to change. Time now disappears. Wrapped in the moment, it is safe for me to change. Ascension on high, becoming surely me, it is safe for me to change. So we start anew. Growth means beginnings. It is safe for me to change. And it is safe for you to change. That last line, safe for you to change, is not in the poem, but I added it because it is safe for you to change. We are supported in our endeavors when we start truly believing in ourselves and truly believing in our creative processes. We get supported by the earth. We get supported by, law of attraction, all these things that we want to bring into our life in abundance. We can make it happen. but it does require change. It does require growth. So change is that transformative tool that you need to use, and it will make or break you. And, when you're open to change, you're open to growth. You're open to this limitless possibility. You're open to infinite abundance flowing into your life. And you're open to just, new experiences and new perspectives. And with that comes true community. With that comes love. With that comes compassion. With that comes finding your passions. It becomes who you are, and you simply flow. But maybe you are feeling stagnated. There are certain periods of my life where I feel stagnated, and on occasion I will catch myself in that mode. So the question becomes, how can I change? And I kind of came up with five simple steps. Step number one is simply a willingness to do it. Are you going to actually do it? Do you want to change? And it sounds simple, but there's a lot of times we are in negative patterns and we really attach to certain ideas and beliefs that are holding us back. So we really have to acknowledge a willingness to change. And that acknowledgement is an acknowledgement of the journey. It's not just saying, I want to change, but don't want to do anything about it. No, it means I want to change and I am willing to embark on a journey to do it. It's like a hero's journey per se. You can acknowledge that you might need to change, but if you simply stay put, you're not going to embark on that change at all. So step one is just that willingness. It's just that awareness and of the fact that this is a journey. This isn't necessarily an overnight change. Although some changes can happen overnight. You really can build that resilience quick. So step two is to sort of begin your healing process. And that's to really start self-reflecting. That is to look in the mirror and do you like what you see? Look into that shadow. Embrace the shadow realm that exists within all of us. All of us have this. So, we got to really be, after step one, a willingness. Step two is engaging in that healing. And I would encourage, there's a lot of different ways you can do this. And for everybody, it's going to look different, right? I mean, for me, I'm still on a step two in a way, because I think we are constantly learning different things about ourselves and we're constantly trying to heal from our past. And but it's engaging in these practices, and you get to a point where you're able to let things that simply come up, just let them go. But you're constantly trying to get better and be the best version of yourself. But we really do need to rewire ourselves and how we react to certain situations and, certain beliefs that we hold on to. That's really what step two is all about. It's sort of breaking down that conditioning and really getting into who you are as a person and making those changes. And, you can really discover a lot from yourself just by engaging in, meditation or taking up yoga or, starting to do journaling or simply reading literature on, kind of becoming a better version of you and really engaging with these practices. Maybe it's through gratitude and sort of taking a different approach on the day-to-day. And I think it's all about establishing that practice for yourself to embrace a healing journey. You're not going to heal everything in one day. There are certainly shortcuts you could take on occasion. You could say, plant medicines are a much quicker solution than a long-term meditation journey. But it's all about what you learned from that and then embarking on the journey itself afterwards. So even that's not a quick fix. You really do need to put in the work. And that's what step two is all about, putting in the work and engaging and establishing the fundamentals of that. Step three, I would say, if you're feeling kind of stagnated and looking for ways to change, is to expose yourself to some new ideas, to some new perspectives. And this can come in a lot of different forms. Again, I would try reading a bunch of different books, try watching different documentaries or TED Talks or hearing different perspectives. And this could even be just talking to people who maybe have different ideas on particular things, but expose yourself to new perspectives that challenge your old beliefs, especially a lot of the beliefs that you're not 100% sure about and you do want to potentially change, or if you feel like there's a certain avenue you should be going down. You don't even necessarily know how to do it. Just start exposing yourself to the idea. Start exposing yourself to certain new lines of thought and critical thinking. That's sort of what this is all about. When you can begin to critically think and really come up with solutions on your own on a lot of different subjects, and compare different opinions, that is when you can be really transformatively change your own opinions, change your own ideas. Step 4, accept help, seek community, look for people. And we can learn a lot about ourselves. We can learn a lot about sort of our relationships with people when we open up and we are willing to embrace community. And I would say that this can be a difficult step. It does require a level of vulnerability to really engage oneself with others and to truly open up, and a willingness to sort of heal with others, but it is very worthwhile. And there are connections out there for everybody, people who will listen, people who are willing to be there with you. So if you're in a change process, I would encourage you to talk to somebody about it, whether it be positive or negative. There's certain things going on. I love hearing positive things that people got going on, right? Like, who doesn't love to hear that somebody's doing great? Or maybe, but if someone comes to me with something that, they're struggling with, I want to hear that too. I want to be there. I want to, support. So find the people like that and find that community for yourself. And, I truly believe that exists for everybody. There are people out there who will care about you. You are unique. You are a beautiful person with beautiful ideas. And, so find that community. You're in it right now, fifth dimension. That's a community for you. So number 5 is just the last one. Just follow your heart, seek truth. And I think when we start to live in a place of our hearts and we begin to really embrace the ways that we want to go towards and the ideas that we start gravitating towards, and seeking truth, authenticity, the validity, I believe that we can really transformatively change, and I know we can. So follow your heart, listen to your gut, go with your gut instinct, and really seek out that authenticity and challenge your old beliefs. All of these ideas about change, these 5 things that I mentioned, they all intertwine together. So challenge that old conditioning by following your heart and looking at something new perspectives. While there's going to be times where it certainly feels difficult and you're not going to want to do these things, you're going to have attachments to old beliefs, to certain constructs, and it's going to feel very prideful about particular things. There's ideas you've held on to your entire life, whether you consciously realize it or not. It can sometimes be very difficult to let those things go, and it's not necessarily an overnight process. It is a constant battle. You might even have impulses of, I know a lot of addicts talk about still having the impulse, right, to engage in a self-destructive behavior, such as using drugs. The impulse is there, but it's about managing and challenging and making that transformative change. Change is a lifelong journey in itself, as we were saying earlier. Everything is always changing, but don't underestimate the power of 100 baby steps, right? A bunch of small-scale changes are what lead to these enormous transformations. Those 100 baby steps you take are what allow you to, say, get a new job, or allow you to make a move to a whole new state. Like, without those smaller scale changes, you can't really have these monumental changes. That's what builds up to these monumental life events. So, and even now, think back to who you were, let's say this time last year, right? I'd argue myself, I almost feel unrecognizable. There's so many things I look back on from 1 year ago to this day where I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I was living in that way. I have noticed profound changes in myself, but it's something that happens in the day to day, and it's through exploring different ideas and challenging myself in various ways, whether it be intellectually, physically. And so these sort of large scale changes have come into my life for me, but it's because of the smaller scale things that I do in the day to day. You know, I continue to look for ways to improve in the day to day because I know, even if I don't know what that larger scale change is going to be, I know that transformative change is possible. I have certain goals that I'd like to achieve, and I know what changes I need to make or things, and I'm constantly learning about them. So I can have those transformative experiences and transformative changes. So I know it's in my long-term best interest to put in the work today to make a small change. And the amount you do each day is going to be different. Just take every day as it comes and take those baby steps. You know, this podcast too. It's a representation of what change is all about, right? You're here, you're seeking new perspectives, especially on this podcast. We're seeking new perspectives. We're seeking truth, authenticity, practices to best oneself, to become the best version that you can be. And so kudos to you for even being here. Your change journey has already begun. You're already past step one. Maybe you don't even unconsciously realize that you're not past that. Step one, you're already seeking new perspectives. You're already putting in work to become a better version of yourself. So, for that, embrace those changes that you've made so far. Be proud. I'm proud of you. This is your journey and it's going at your speed, and nobody can tell you otherwise. So embrace the changes that you've made so far. Look back on where you were and, feel some gratitude for yourself for making it this far and changing the way you have and learning new experiences and having what's been going on in your life. There's a lot that can happen in just even a month, right? I mean, look what happened with the pandemic. One day we're all out chilling with the buddies. The next day we're on lockdown, and basically just a huge societal change. So the change can happen quick. And in this moment, I encourage you guys to take a look inward. Ask yourself, what can I do right here, right now, to continue seeking the best version of myself? What would that look like for you right now? Strive towards that truth and that vitality. Strive towards that enlightenment, even if you think it is unreachable. Nobody thinks they are ever truly at enlightenment. There's always more to be achieving. And, it's closer than you think. People are probably looking at you and looking at your changes and looking at the way you're doing you. And they respect it. And, be proud of your journey. Embrace your journey. Be who you are and just embrace that change. Expose yourself to those new ideas. Challenge yourself. Look for ways to continually grow. It's a process. It's a journey. It's not particularly easy. There's a lot that we really got to get over in terms of our conditioning, but it's a journey worthwhile. So in any way I can be of service for your journey, I am happy to. So it is my pleasure. So here's how you can help the show. You can donate if you want. That's in the link below. Please give us a rating. Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, subscribe, whatever it is. That's how more people are going to hear the show. And I'm trying to change it and grow. Not change the format. I know y'all love the show. But, change and grow. Continually go with the flow and the tides and, let this thing ride high. So share it with your friends, somebody who you think is looking to change in some sort of way. Follow us on all the social medias as well, at Instagram, at Evan McDermott, or the Fifth Dimension Podcast. You can find us on Twitter, pretty much the same handles. Don't really have Facebook. Got TikTok. I posted a video for the first time in a while on TikTok recently. So that's on there. You can seek it out if you'd like, at Evan McDermott. I'll try and do a little more videos on there. I'm still trying to figure out how to take and how to talk and how to really connect with those young people. I'm still kind of young myself, but there's something about those youngsters nowadays that Jesus, I sound like my grandfather. But yeah, connect with the show. I love to hear from you guys, and think about, how can I change? How can I be the best version of me? What does that look like? It's different for everybody. And I'm excited for you to embark on that for you. So long, take care. I'll see you next time.